welcome to Cryptid Wilderness Research. My name is Daniel Becker, CWR team member here in Anchorage, Alaska. Joining me, as always, from Quincy, Washington, my co-host, Matt Slater.
Hello.
Absent tonight, couldn't be with us. He's feeling under the weather, is our other host, Paul Ayat, who's currently in the hospital, and we wish him the best and hope he can get back with us real soon. Joining us tonight, a real treat, researcher consultant for our podcast, a Bigfoot research partner, author, documentary filmmaker, William Lunsford. William, thanks for joining us again.
Hey, everybody. Thank you all for having me again here on your show. You know how much I look forward to this, man. Enjoy talking to you guys. It's like three friends getting together, and really enjoy this. Enjoy sharing what we've learned here in the woods together. Again, I want to thank our first responders, and I want to thank our veterans for all that they've done for us so that we can do what we do. And again, I want to mention also one of our fellow team members here, Keith Crabtree, who's also in the hospital. This is Keith right here on my shirt right there, the real legend of Boggy Creek. And so we want to acknowledge him and wish him a speedy recovery also. So guys, I've looked forward to this, and whatever questions you got, man, shoot. And if there's anything else that I don't know, anything I don't know, I'm going to tell you if I make a guess. Other than that, right there, what I'll be speaking will be from research, from 47 years of research. So again, thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for being with us. William, let's start out again with your book.
Okay.
Searching for the Unfindable, My Quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot. I was looking at it the other side earlier, so I still had it that way. Searching for the Unfindable, My Quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot. This is, I've said it before, we've talked about it before. This is a fantastic book of how you got started in this research and all the encounters that you've had. And it's just a wonderful book. And we encourage everybody out there who's interested in this topic to grab a copy. So you've currently got book 2 in the works. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I do. I figured after this last deal of having this book published there, I thought that will probably be the last one I do. And thank goodness, and thanks to guys like y'all, some of the other podcasts I've had, and the friends who've actually read my book. Right, Will, you got to write another book. We know you have more experiences. And I do. As I said, I've been doing this now for 47 years. And man, there's a lot of things that you see out there in those 47 years that you're just not going to get from these TV shows that you're getting here. You're not going to, when you're not going to get some of the truth that there is no evidence. There are no photographs and everything like that. And we certainly know that that's not so. But the reason that I'm doing this, like I said, is because my first book covered probably the first 41 years. I went ahead and went through 46 there. But I had some things, I felt like I had left the story undone. And so I thought, everybody's like, Will, please write another book. So that's what I'm doing. And I appreciate that confidence that they had in me. Like I said, I hope it's entertaining. But there's truly, if I didn't write it, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of good facts in there about Bigfoot. If you want to learn to be a Bigfoot researcher, there's a lot of things I put in there. I haven't held anything back. There are no secrets from me in doing this deal right here. Again, I enjoy it. I've got some great research partners, one of which is wearing a Michigan Panther t-shirt there on your screen right now. There you go. And and I've been very fortunate to meet Daniel, make his acquaintance. You put him out in the woods, Bigfoot's going to have his picture to it. That's all there is to it. So again, but our research partners, Stephen Hill and Shannon Cruz, and then Jim Owenby. And then I've got Randy Crawford in there with us. And then I've had some other folks that have graciously invited me this year to their homes. There's a thing that a Bigfoot does. It's kind of a classic Bigfoot behavior. When you go into the woods looking for their homes, within the next day or so, you're going to get a visit from them. And so we've had this happen here in Texarkana with a young man that I've made friends with, a young man named Nick. I won't use his last name. But anyway, so he's getting quite a few, he's getting a few pictures now, and the things are coming around his house. And I think he's coming to a great understanding of what these things can do. But so that's the reason I'm writing that book. Like I said, the first one is 449 pages. And, that because I didn't want to break up my research. I didn't want to just leave it right there and just, for whatever. So I thought, well, I'll never write another book. So I went ahead and put it all in there. Again, I put color pictures in there. And but then, as I said, when I got through, and I hate to hear my own voice, I hate to read my own words, but I thought, man, there's some things in here you needed to tell that you didn't. And so again, that's where I'm at right there. And I'm writing. It's called Searching for the Unfindable, finding the impossible. And so that's kind of where book two, like I said, book one was searching for the unfindable. My quest for Arkansas Bigfoot, and now it's searching for the unfindable, finding the impossible. And so I think you'll enjoy this too. Got a lot of anecdotes in there, things that I've experienced as 35 years of UPS man. You wouldn't believe the number of people I talked to that have actually had encounters. And boy, that really made it interesting. It also made it scary out there at night. A lot of nights I was out there till 10 o'clock. There's a lot of things can happen to you out there. You're praying, Lord, please don't let me break down, because I don't want to walk down this road by myself. But there's a lot of things. And so, and right now here in Arkansas, like I said, we're going through a transition period. It's just now started summertime. Today was 94 degrees, and man, that's it. You can break a sweat when you're eating a popsicle, and it's just that hot. But again, they're going to change to their summertime patterns. I said your creeks and your rivers are probably going to be more prominent in your research and stuff like that. Also, Bigfoot has certain areas that they go to sleep. They have certain areas that they go to feed. So if you can find one of these feeding areas, your chances of having a sighting are very good also. And then too, strangely, as it would seem, we tend to have a lot of times like this during this time, especially in June, where they're making their transition from wherever they've gone during the winter time, and they're getting into their summertime areas. So it's a good time to catch them when they're migrating also. So that's kind of the overview of what I'm doing right now. I've gotten, like I said, a lot of recent reports here from folks. I've got one there that I'm going to check out here, hopefully about the next couple of weeks, right there, not too far from Dallas, Texas, actually. And so that's going to be a really exciting thing to do right there, because this man he's got a great hunting lease down there, and recently they just put a gun range in there. Well, when they did, all of a sudden the Bigfoot started really showing out, started really howling and hollering. And of course, he talked to my friend Keith. Keith called me, and we talked about it a little bit. And everybody, when they realize they've got Bigfoot around, the first thing they want to know is, do you reckon they're going to hurt me? And there's some out there, folks, that are rogues. Like I said, they're not teddy bears. They have genuinely bad attitudes, whether they've been shot at, whether for whatever the reason has been, whether they've been kicked out of the troops. And also nature's way to keep them interbreeding. The big males will just beat the snot out of these little young, these little young males that are trying to take over the troop. And so they're pretty well got not a bad attitude, but they just got an attitude adjustment. So this time of year is when you can get in there. Like I said, you need to. They'll be trying to establish their dominant patterns. They'll also, I think, probably looking for, little young females here. We've been having babies, getting pictures of babies here in Arkansas since December, and that's the honest truth. And Daniel will vouch for that as well. And then we've been getting some other pictures. So again, we don't know for sure about their breeding habits, if it's like people where it's just a random thing, or whether it's actually seasonal. I tend to think it's seasonal. I think when they have it, and then they have their babies at the time, because we get a lot of pictures of babies. So, but that's what I told this man, going to tell this man up there at Dallas, that the reason I think they would probably be being more aggressive where they haven't been before, because they've been there, he just hadn't seen them, is maybe they've got babies in there. When they get something like that poses a danger to any kind of animals like that, they tend to respond aggressively, or not necessarily negatively, but they tend to let you know of their presence, and that could be what it is. So I'm excited about getting to go down there and visit with these folks there, and it's just not too far from all the rivers that got Bigfoot on it. They're famous there in Texas, including Sulphur River. That's right where it is right there. The town is right there on the banks of Sulphur River. And the Sulphur River goes around through close to Paris, Texas. It goes through Cooper, Texas. It goes through DeKalb, Sims, and there are sightings consistently in every one of these towns, again going to Falcon on into where the Sulphur River dumps into the Red River. And so there's sightings consistently, and that's the one key right there, is like Sulphur River is just a wilderness place that, even as Daniel says, it looks like Arkansas's Amazon, because it's just so thick. And so, and it really is. If you've never been there, it just blows your mind, because you can step 5 feet into the woods during noontime, and you're not going to be seen. If you just stand still, things go right by you. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, as far as for what I've got in the works right there. And then again, like I said, I've got still 10 cameras out in the woods right now. I've got 2 that are being flooded in. We've had so many rains here in Arkansas. We're getting sometimes truly 6 or 7 inches of rain every single day, back to back to back. And so I hadn't had a chance to go there and get them yet. I'm hoping that I've got pictures on there. I'm sure by now the batteries, are pretty well gone. But when I get those out of there, I'm going to be very excited. I think I've got the pictures. I know I do on some of them, and I'm going to be glad to share that with everybody here on our show as well. So again, I see some good things like that going on, and I've got another deer lease that I kept this year that I didn't get to go to. It stayed flooded this last year. Well, now, believe it or not, it's the only one that hasn't got a lot of water. So I'm going to get to spend a lot of time over at that deer lease as well. So I think there's going to be some good things going on there too. You can. I don't think you can wear an area out, but I think they can become so accustomed to you that they just once they hear your vehicle come or something like that, they just tend to disappear, just get more secluded until you're gone. I said that's just something that I think, but it's proven itself time and time again, places where we've had the Bigfoot, and then all of a sudden then they're not there, and then all of a sudden then they're back there again. So that's going to be what's on my agenda anyway, and hopefully me and Stephen. Our research partner Stephen has been kind of under the weather as well, so he and I are going to get to go out and do some of that stuff, and then have an opportunity here pretty soon to shoot a TV show with I don't want to call his name yet, but until he makes it public himself, but with somebody here that's pretty famous in the Bigfoot world. I'm very excited about that. Going to try to share some pictures with him, and try to dispel that rumor that a lot of people are putting out there that, well, we don't have any pictures. There is no evidence. They're going to see that there are pictures there. And one of them was gotten, like I said, by Daniel, one of the best pictures you'll ever see. Got a 10.5-foot Bigfoot there. It's got a baby's hand right there, right in the middle of his chest. It looks like he's got one sitting there on his neck. And they are there. Like I said, Arkansas is just, it's a Bigfoot mecca. Everybody thinks, well, it's California. And that's what I try to dispel. We're not ever going to get the proper channels of research until we get it right on how long Bigfoot has been here. Bigfoot didn't start in California. Bigfoot started, the very first sighting was in around the Louisiana Purchase in Natchez, Mississippi, 1721. And man, that's a long time ago, before the Louisiana Purchase. And that's right there in middle America. And then after that, you got one in 1818 that ended up there in New York, or New Hampshire, as a New Hampshire newspaper, but the sighting was from there in New York. And then, of course, then we go to Georgia, which is all the way towards the East Coast here in America. And then you go right back here to middle America in Arkansas with the Arkansas Wildman. The first 4 documented sightings that we know of. Now, were they everywhere else? I'm sure they were. Everybody's Indian tribes that they have that live around there, they were seeing them. They have them on their totem poles. The researchers that went from east to west to discover these travel lanes to help these settlers settle in the unimproved country there, and they have documented sightings in their journals and stuff like this. But these are some that have been documented by the newspaper that actually made Bigfoot famous. And then, of course, California, you had Bluff Creek over there in '67, but before that, you had a guy named Jerry Crew, and Jerry operated a heavy machinery there, and they were building roads. And so he's sitting there in his on his big road grader, and all of a sudden he looks down and he sees a series of big old tracks about 16 inches long. Well, these have been being seen for a while, not just by Jerry Crew and his crew, but other folks. So anyway, Jerry became famous, and the term Bigfoot was coined out there in California. But here in Middle America, it was always called Wild Man before it was ever big. Arkansas's Bigfoot, like I said, was seen in 1834, and that was 2 years before Arkansas became a state. About probably 40 years before the Civil War. Now you think about how long ago that time was. So they've been here for a long time. Not that California hadn't had them, because they have. But like I said, as far as for getting our history right, when somebody from the Middle America calls and says, "Oh, we've got a Bigfoot sighting here in Arkansas, we got one there in Missouri," and everybody's like, "Nah, man, they're just only in California if they exist at all." That's not so, folks. They're here. There's a bunch of them in Texas. Well, Oklahoma's just a hotbed. They just finished a real productive Bigfoot conference up there in Tallahassee. If you've never had a chance to go to some of these Bigfoot conferences and talk to some of these guys that, like myself, have spent a lot of time in the woods, you're going to hear a lot of common factors. It's going to kind of, I think, cement your trust in what these folks are telling you is the truth. So again, that's something right there that I'm gonna have one coming up here on September the 7th in Natchez, Louisiana there. And I'm very excited about doing that. It's gonna be the Bigfoot Film Festival down there. Get to be a speaker with some other notable folks right there, and looking forward to that. Those folks down there, they haven't talked to a buddy of mine today. I mean, he's seen 4 of them down there in Louisiana. It's a way of life with them too, just like it is down here. And, in Falk, you've got them down there. And the reasons not so many report it is because, like I said, it is a way of life. It's not something so surprising. Oh yeah, there's another one walking down my fence line by the cows, and so they don't report it. I have never reported to the authorities. Number one, I don't want there to be a shooting for some of these creatures. I want to see or beings. I want them to be able to remain alive. Down here in the South, folks tend to get a little gun happy sometimes, but that was the way it was. It's an agrarian society. It's a hunting society, and most of the time, the people have stuff to take care of their families. So it is. But that's why that we don't get the sighting. It's not such a big deal. We're not as industrialized here in Arkansas. I think Arkansas has maybe even got 1 million people in it. I haven't checked the population lately. I don't think it even has 1 million people. I know for sure it doesn't have at least one city that has 1 million people in it. But you got a place in California, you got Los Angeles, San Diego. We can go down the line, down around in Texas. We got Houston, down around Sam Houston National Forest. We got Dallas up there, some places like that right there. Then, it's just one of those things right there. It's kind of an enigma, but folks, it is something that's real. You've got folks here that are just like us, sitting here telling you what's happening to them. It's changed their life. It's such a experience that whenever you see something like this, like I've told other folks, man, you can just drive a stake right there for your life up until then, and then your life after that. And the part of your life after that tends to really, it's not melodramatic, but it tends to be more where you remember where you were. It's like people say, well, where were you when John F. Kennedy was shot? A lot of people that are older than me can remember that. But let me tell you what, when you ask them where they were when they saw their first Bigfoot, there ain't no doubt about it. So again, Bigfoot is real. Like I said, I'm very fortunate to live where I am, to have the good research partners that I do have here. And for those guys are just invaluable. Like I said, Stephen is invaluable to our research. He's great with a lot of the audio and mechanical stuff like that. He really is, man. He's got an intuition about that. If I have any intuition at all, it's about I've been a bass fisherman for years, and I fished some big tournaments. I fished, get some of the guys that you would watch on TV, and learned a lot about Bigfoot and what they call patterning. If something happens right there, it's repeatable on a different part of the lake by using the same pattern to catch fish. Well, it's the same with Bigfoot. When you can sit there, and if you go, I did this year. We got a new sightings map last year here for Arkansas. And I was really surprised. A lot of folks are going through their documenting. It was listed right there. Well, if they would have documented, looked on there where it was, they'll see travel lanes, they'll see rivers, they'll see reasons that Bigfoot are moving through, possible food sources and stuff like that. And so if you get a chance to look at some of that, you want to be a better researcher, do something like that right there, and look at your background on where these sightings are taking place and document them. My phone, this thing, it holds for me every time I take a picture, and I take a lot of pictures. If I have something, I've got it documented. And so what it does is something I can go, it's almost a historical record. I can go back and look at what certain times it was when certain things happen like that. And man, it's just such a benefit to have that. Plus I've got a picture of quite a few of the Bigfoot here on my phone. I've got pictures of the footprints, got pictures of the tree structures. I got, when me and Daniel were down there, the one who picked up a giant rock and placed it in the middle of the road so my truck would run over it so we would know that he was there. That's one of the craziest things I've ever had happen to me right there. And like while me and Daniel were in the woods, not only that, we get a picture of a Bigfoot standing in front of me over there leaning out behind a tree like that. 5 minutes later, we get a Bigfoot that screams at us. We got Bigfoot over here, actual babies over here doing the gibberish and things like that. Then when we get ready to leave, all of a sudden right there in the middle of the road, there's been a big old rock placed so that I can't miss it. And I've got a pretty good size Chevrolet truck right there. It's got plenty of ground clearance. Had to get out and move it, or else I'd have left my oil pan right there in the middle of the road. So again, very interesting hobby. Things like that happen to you. You're like, oh my gosh, how did that happen? A man's ain't going to take that time to lift it up, number one. And plus, this was in January, last year, whenever we had that. Man, it was cold. And like I said, it was muddy. And but the rock that we got out of the road was not dug up. It was actually lifted up, and it was put right there so that me and Daniel, whenever we left out of there, would have to drive around or at least acknowledge, that, hey, he was there, and that's what he wanted, I think. So again, some of those cool things that happen to you that can only happen to you when you're out there in the woods. So
you mentioned earlier, talking about sighting stories and stuff like that in your previous career, driving down those back roads at night. Did anything ever happen?
Oh yeah, man. It's funny the way they are, because they sit there and they watch the roads. A lot of the structures that we find and stuff like that, man, they're within 20 to 50 yards of the road. You can see them from the road. Truly, although we don't know exactly what it is, I think that's actually as a sign or a signal for the other Bigfoot where to follow, where to cross, where they're going towards food beds, where they're going towards beds for where they sleep and stuff like that. Sometimes it's a display of strength. They're like, hey, Jack, I am the alpha right here. Don't come in my territory. But again, when you see stuff like that, then I've also had rocks thrown at my truck. I had a friend of mine, he had a friend that was on his deer lease, and I had been talking to him about some of the turtles that we were finding down here that were just, all the meat was pulled out of the shell. The hinge was not busted open, and they were just stacked up there. He kind of thought I was kind of pulling his leg until he had a friend that was driving from Arkansas to Louisiana through the back roads right there. He sees something cutting across the woods, and whenever he does, it is a Bigfoot, and this Bigfoot has got a box turtle in its hand, and I guess it was in the process eating it or whatever, but he had interrupted it somewhere or another. This thing gets right there on the shoulder of the road. He had to get to the other side, just sure he was going to hit it, and the thing reared back through the shell into his windshield and cracked his windshield. Again, oh yeah, so me and Stephen were there one night, and we have what's called it's called the bionic bird. It's a really creepy sound, except it's not a bird. It's a sound some Bigfoot they can make. And so he and I are there. We were going down the road, the back road there, and then all of a sudden we hear the bionic bird, and then all of a sudden all the sounds in the woods just stop right there as we go down this road. And man, we're a ways off the main part of the road, so if anything's going to happen, it's not going to be something we get to mail into y'all or anything else like that. It's something right there that we're going to have to figure our way out ourselves. But to hear that stuff like that, and then for everything to quit like that, so it really does have some things that happen to you there, but that aren't going to happen to you, as I said, when you're just sitting in your chair watching TV or something like that. But it is scary. Now, I'm in the woods, man, I promise you. I'm in the woods driving and researching right now, at least 5 days a week. I was more than that until I got this, what do you call, long COVID or crap like that, which is, like I said, one day I've got rain and I can't talk because it ruins out the signal on my phone. The next day I've got my voice back, well, heck, I can't do that. Then all of a sudden my voice goes, but then I've got phone service the next day. It's not working out. You flip a coin for whichever one you want. But it's something that I'm down there with, and there's a lot of places, and there's a lot of sightings. If you get on some of these websites, you can see how many are actually seen from the road. Now, when I was a UPS man, I picked my routes up where I was right there on the banks of Sulphur River somewhere, shape, form, or fashion. I actually drove over 2 million miles, including my personal vehicle and my UPS vehicle. And of those, I only had 2 sightings from the UPS truck. I have one in the Douglasville, Texas, and I have one in Maud, Texas, both those coincidentally within 10 miles of Sulphur River, as I said before. But again, that's because I owe it to my public and also to my wife and family that I don't want to get fired for looking off on the side of the road and have a wreck.
Right. So
that's why you're not getting a chance to look around. Now, man, when I'm riding with somebody else like that, you can bet I'm scoping the edges of the woods, just anything. Had a guy last year, I went to Walmart over here, and I had a Bigfoot shirt on, a lot similar to what I got right now. And the lady that was waiting on me back there in the sports goods department, she says, you believe Bigfoot believer? I said, oh man, I promise you. I said, I know Bigfoot is real. I said, I've seen him. She goes, well, let me tell you what happened to me. She, well, not me. She goes, but my boyfriend. And so he's actually a diesel driver. He was cutting from Winsboro, Texas, over towards Lake Fork, Texas. And he sees, and it's about, she says, probably about 12:30 at night. And he sees a Bigfoot coming across the road with a dead cat draped across his shoulder, almost like he chased it down. That was what, dead cat is what for supper, not for me, but for it, And man, when she told him, she just teared up because it really affected him about like it did me, like I explained before. It does affect you when you see one of these, but then it's one of the coolest things you'll ever see. And I've never met anybody so prepared as Daniel whenever he came down here that first time. And he had actually secured a photographer for us just in case. And we're there in the middle of the woods. I'm in the middle of the clear cut, woods on each side. Then all of a sudden we get that Bigfoot sighting, and that Bigfoot's over with. Well, actually, we hear it first. Daniel takes some grid pictures. We stop. We're there in the woods, right there with this woods on this side, clear cut in the middle. We're walking up towards the vehicle. Daniel starts looking on his phone. He goes, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" We looked at it, and there's that 110.5 foot tall. But he had actually secured a photographer, sent that picture to the photographer from the middle of the clear cut right there while we're still there in the, and that was just one of the all my years of doing that, I'd never thought of doing anything like that, but he did, and it proved just really invaluable. She had the little machine there that drew the laser outline of this Bigfoot right there, and so there wasn't any hoax. She ran it through all the filters that she had right there. Yeah, that's in all our filters. Whatever that is there. So again, my thanks to her, but thanks to Daniel for something like that. Probably something I never would have thought of like that. So again, when you start sharing things, like whenever he come down, all of a sudden, man, I learned something from Daniel. He learned something from me about taking grid pictures. And I learned that from my wife of all things. But from that right there, and then too, like I said, he was being prepared for what you're ready for. And sure enough, he sends it. So again, one of the most memorable sightings, most memorable pictures. It's going to be one of the best pictures that you've ever seen right there. I may even, if I can square it with Daniel, I may even put it on the cover of my book, on my second book there, as far as finding the impossible, because it's a good picture. And like I said, that dude is 10.5 foot tall. I went down there 2 days after we saw it down there. I wasn't about to go down there that day right there. So here, man, I'm here. You're 10.5 foot tall. I'm 6 foot tall. Just go ahead and thump me 3 or 4 times off this pine tree and throw me back to my truck. Wasn't going to happen. So I went back and I took my 4570 and I took with me back down there. And then I took what's called a meter stick. It's got a tape measure here on one side, cut into the woods right there, and took it down there and measured it. And like I said, 10.5 foot tall. Amazing. And so it really is. And then here's the funny part. I went there not too far after that. And that's the same place my wife got her picture. Daniel got his picture from right there. And I went back a little bit later on and I was taking pictures to show people that this Bigfoot was not in that tree. And one of the few pictures that I had taken in through there, all of a sudden I'm looking through and there stands what's called a devil monkey back there, just right behind this same tree that Daniel got his picture from and that my wife got her picture from. So again, one of those things that lines up that you can't make this stuff up, because it's got its own way of working things out like that. But again, really excited to get to do things like this right here. And again, we research public land, not private land. And so that makes a difference too. That's one thing that I really worry about when I'm on public land is somebody finds my cameras and then they get the SD card out and then they see what's actually in there. Then we start having a problem with them trying to shoot or whatever. Yeah. I don't want to do that. That's the cameras. I use cameras. They're about $30 a piece. I tried to use one of them real high dollar cameras and I outsmarted myself, because instead of me getting pictures this close of Bigfoot, like some of what I've got, I'm getting pictures of Bigfoot 200 feet back here because the camera's so strong. So it's both of them have got their place. But like I said, I have those cameras like that right there, and I tend to hide them again in the brush. Y'all have heard me say that, push them way back in the brush so there's a clear. So if somebody just accidentally walks by, they don't get to see it. They don't get my camera, get that SD card, and all of a sudden, hey, we know where Bigfoot's at here in Arkansas. I do not want that, if nothing else, just for safety's sake, because they get down there and get to shooting at them. I'm a human being. I don't know how much they know about human beings, but I know this much. They're going to associate me with whoever's doing the shootings, and it may not be good for me. It may not be good for Stephen or Daniel or my wife if she goes with me, or anything like that. So again, that's just one of those things that you become secretive with your areas just for that reason, not because it is. It's like I said, it's public land, and I'm sure people drive by there all the time, and then Bigfoot are just so smart they'll just like I'm doing right there. They'll just stand still. They drive by. I saw one. Let me tell y'all this. I saw one this year, April 23rd, 2024, going down to Monster Mart. I was going to fish a bass tournament that weekend, and we're supposed to have more rain like what we've had now. And so I was down at Monster Mart, went there to buy pizza, went up there to adjust my books, make sure my books were there in Mr. Roberts' store. Hey, so you're not going to fish that tournament? I said, no. I can't afford to be sick. He goes, would you like to come down here and help me this weekend? It was the weekend of the Fat Monster Conference. He said, come out here and, help me, tell some of these people about Bigfoot, maybe get some of this merchandise sold. Said, I'll feed you all the Mountain Dew and all the pizza you can have. Well, man, shoot, you didn't have to ask me twice on that one, but I mean, that's fit for a king. You want a 7-course meal, man, give me a pizza and a 6-pack of Mountain Dew. That's what. But so he let me go in the store. He set me up beside there where I could put up a table and actually sell my books and talk and visit with these people. But the next day, he wanted to show me, because he had to leave town, show me where, in case I came down to set my stuff up, where to put my things at, put my table, I've got some little trinkets to go on my table there with a tablecloth, little Bigfoot and little, cut out lanterns and things like that. And so when I'm going down there, it starts to rain really bad. And there's a guy that's driving a trailer with a truck behind me, and he just a regular pickup truck, and he is hauling behind, man. And he's come up to me so doggone fast. There's one place that I found a couple of years ago where it's less than a mile from the Ford house. And the Ford house is where the very first Fat Monster Bigfoot thing that became public was seen right there. Mm-hmm. I found these trails. I went in there and I thought, man, there's got to be some trails going in through there from where the Ford house is. And then I heard a report, and I'm like, I know there is now. So I got out and I went through, and I said, kind of skulked through the woods right there. Some of it was private land, some of it wasn't. I tried my best not to trespass, but I found the trails in there, and then actually one of them crosses I-49 right there. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I picked up the trail on this, or left the trail here, picked it up on the other side. Well, so as this guy's behind me driving, every time I would go by this trail, I would look over and see. Of course, the chances of seeing something you think are just about slim and none. But this day right here, I was watching him through my rearview mirror, not really paying a whole lot of attention. I'm like, well, shoot, I'm coming on my dadgum trail that I found right here. I'm just going to look. And I turned around, and there's a black 8-footer standing right there underneath the first tree where this trail started right there. And, man, of course, I slammed on the brakes. I wanted to get, stop and look at it. Well, man, he nearly ran into me from behind. So I'm like, shoot. So I had to go up there and make a loop, come back around right quick. And whenever I did, of course, by the time I got back, he was gone. But again, that's like one of those things that just happens sometimes, and when it does. But the fact that he's still there. Keith told me an instance where, man, for a place called one of the houses from the movie, and sure enough, he said, I think this is the original creature. There he is, 80 yards standing there from the house. So I hope that's not been. I haven't monopolized y'all's show, man, but that's just kind of when it gets to going, when the area gets hot, it's hot, and it's time to talk about it. Well, you'll wake in. Otherwise, we're gonna have 30 minutes of sitting here looking at each other, and admiring our Panthers and Bigfoot shirts here and your plaid shirts.
So you've got book 2 in the works, and this book is. Let me make sure I'm holding it the right way this time.
Yeah.
This book has got history, humor, data, and experience all packed in it, and it's going to be tough to top this one, man. But I have no doubt that you can do it. This is just, and I'm not just saying this because you're my research partner, but this book should be on every researcher's table to review because it's that good. So,
folks, I appreciate that, man. I'm from the South. We have a lot of Southern humor down here. We got some sayings like, something others there. He goes, man, that's just tight as a fat girl sock. Well, that, not trying to offend fat girls, but that's just something that's been around here for so many years, And, oh, man, sit there and, you're down south. What happens when your porch falls down? 3 dogs underneath it get killed, just things like that are Southern cliches. but so I've got that, in there. And, But these folks down here are pretty genuine too. You can ask Daniel, you're driving down the road, folks never met you like everybody's gonna wave while you drive and go on by. So I appreciate you saying that. It's gonna be good, I think. Like I said, I'm working on it really hard, and I'm spending at least probably 2 to 3 hours every night when I should be sleeping. And that's not near as good the next morning. Whenever I get up and reread it, I've got my typing is not very good. I have to, it's what's called chicken picking. I do that right there. I'm like, good grief, what did I mean by this word? Goebbels novels. And I'm like, no, that ain't gonna get it. So finally I figure out what I've said, but I hope it's gonna be good because, like I said, it's got a lot of real research in it too. That book right there can make you a better researcher, and that
Absolutely.
was a lot of purpose right there.
And I can tell you, every time I go down to do research with you and Steven, for me, it's going to school. You guys take me to school and teach me and have been kind enough to mentor me in research. So I really appreciate it. Where can people get your book?
Well, you can find this. Oh, so you can get the hard copy on Amazon there, and then you can also get the paperback from Amazon Kindle, and also for something called Lulu Books. And folks, you think 449 pages? Oh gosh, it's going to be $50 or $60. No, it's $30 or $30.99. However they decide to price it right there. But I promise you, you look at some of these other books that are 180 pages, you're paying $25.99, things like that. You don't have near the pages. You don't have the color pictures. I said, you've got research. You've not got people's opinion. You've got research of things that I've seen right there. So I'm not guessing about some of the things I'm telling you. I'm telling you things that I've seen that's going to be, quote, classic Bigfoot behavior. And it's going to help make everybody, I think, be a better researcher, because I'm not out to get that $1 million picture. I'm not monetized. I did that right there more as a labor of love, and so far things, are going pretty good. And I'm this next book, maybe the last, if I do one after this, it'll be a total picture book. Will be what it'll be, just pictures and captions rather than anything else. And after that right there, my authorhood is closed.
So before we close here with part one, Matt, you in Washington State are getting ready to go recon an area. Where are you going to be checking out?
Well, we're still trying to decide where we're going to go, but we are going to go over to the coast, right up to the beach. We're trying to decide if we want to go sort of northern Oregon coast, or if we want to go, southern Washington, mid Washington coastline, around in that area, sort of the southern end of the Olympic Peninsula. But we're still looking for a spot. But I am going to be taking my my camera with me, trying to at least catch some video. I don't really have a good directional microphone, so audio is going to be a little bit harder, but I am taking my 4K camera with me.
We'll download you a good some kind of microphone there onto your cell phone as well, man. And you can also download, I have a couple of apps on there where you can actually have some Bigfoot calls that they've made. And also as far as the Sierra sounds and stuff, that can also be a benefit to you, even though it's not as good as what you have one that broadcasts all the way around. Still, those things can hear, man. They really can. They've got hearing just almost as good as what dogs do. And so that'll be something that you can carry. They'll also be a big benefit to you. And I've got them on my phone, and carry you, believe it or not, carry you some yellow lens glasses. That yellow tends to gather light, and you can see better in that right there. And so it actually gives you more detail and everything else. So carry some, and then carry a slingshot of all things. Just get you some rocks. If they're over there, you throw that slingshot. When that rock crashes that tree, you're going to get some kind of response out of the joker. I've done that several times, and that's one of my tricks that I don't tell a whole lot of people about. But because number one, I don't want to shoot somebody standing out there and it's a person. But that's a good tool also. Like I said, that's a classic Bigfoot thing that I put in line. So
yeah, I didn't think of that. That's a good idea.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
I didn't think about using a slingshot. That's a good idea. Because I mean, how fast and how hard a Sasquatch can throw a rock, there's no way we can match it. So we got to use some kind of a tool.
And it rattled. First, you can hear it rattling, that whatever you're shooting, whether it's a rock, whether it's a marble, whether it's one of those steel balls. When it goes, you're going through those trees, ricocheting off those limbs and stuff. They're hearing that, and they're going to come see what, come explore, see what that noise is. And all of a sudden, you hit it right on the trunk of a tree, right there, and it makes a noise you can hear. So again, that's a very, very good tool. And like I said, carry those yellow lens glasses, because they do gather a light for you. Not only that, but then they protect your eyes when you're walking through that brush and stuff like that. So again, it doesn't have to be expensive to be effective. And that's one of my main rules right there. Sometimes, I carry a little megaphone, but if I can't have a megaphone, hey man, you get the side of the road, you got a plastic cup, get your pocket knife out, cut the bottom of that plastic cup, and there you go, and something like that right there. And so
it's just as good.
Yeah, just making best of the situation that you got.
Gentlemen, we're at time for the end of part one here. William, thank you so much for joining us again. Matt Slater in Quincy, Washington, thank you as always. And for me, CWR team member Daniel Becker in Anchorage, Alaska, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks to everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you.